Hello and welcome to another exciting episode of the Comic Book Chronicles. I'm your host, Radicat. You can find me at Radicat on Twitter. You can find me at Radicat on Blue Sky. You can also find me at News Nerds Need on Twitter. You can also find me at CBCaps on Instagram. And the sound effects you heard come from none other than our man in Brooklyn, 1 agent_70 on Twitter, Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky.
What's up, everybody? Coming at you live and direct. Well, not quite live and direct, but we're getting close.
The kid from Brooklyn.
There was a speaking of, that was the thing you played earlier. That was like, I'm surprised you don't have a sample of that in there somewhere, or maybe you do. I don't know, but
I'm pretty sure I do. It's like it's tucked in. It's just I have a lot to choose from, so I don't always play. I guess there's like a few consistent ones that stay in the rotation, but yeah, I get it. I absolutely do.
Yeah. And folks, being that this is the Comic Book Chronicles, which you can find at the Cold Slither Podcast Network, at cspn.us.
Do it today.
You could also find us on your podcast perusal place of choice, whether it be Apple iTunes, aka Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or the Cold Slither Podcast Network SoundCloud page.
Make sure to click like, subscribe, and leave us all the positive 5-star reviews, especially on Apple Podcasts, because that will help people find our show.
Indeed. And is Twitter acting up, or is that just okay? Yes, there is lies. There is lies to answer to that question, because I think it is or something. But we know what, we're not worried about that right now. So yeah, folks, we're going to hit the ground running with, as we promised last week, talking about the first two, not one, but two episodes of Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, which are named, the first one's called Amazing Fantasy, and the second one's called The Parker Luck.
Right, and that is most certainly well within the historical canon of Spider-Man and Spider-Man's history. You know, those are clear references to aspects of the Spider-Man lore. Obviously, Amazing Fantasy. You know, we all know that as being the starter of it all, and the Parker Luck is very aptly named as the second episode because of what happens in it. So, you kind of get an idea of what that first episode being titled Amazing Fantasy is about, because you get a very, I would say a very detailed look at what this version of Peter Parker's origin is. You know, what did you think of this filled out version of a familiar story and a what if twist?
Well, before I ask, what's that?
I know a what if twist to that story.
Yes, but before, well, I guess we were right here, because I was going to ask you something else before we got to that point. So, okay. But I was going to ask you, before we get into any and all of that, what did you think of the theme song?
Oh, it's a remix of, the 60s Spidey with, some updates. It obviously has a strong sample of the 60s theme song. So I appreciated that. I thought it was okay.
Yeah.
What about you?
It's kind of one of the things was like, okay, it's a bop. I like it, but at the same time, it's there's, the more I hear it, there's parts of that song just like, okay, y'all could have done this part differently. But
I get that.
But it's still a bop, and it's still cool. So it's kind of like, okay, it starts off and you kind of feeling it, but then once it gets to the first, that one part, it's like, oh yeah, that's
Yeah.
Man, they could have either done that slightly differently. But overall, though, it's good, and I feel like it almost feels like, well, okay, this is one of those things I'm going to actually feel like continuing to like, but that one part is going to continue to kind of hit at me every time I hear it.
That. I can appreciate that. I think I let it play. You know, obviously we only have 2 episodes to sink our teeth into.
Right.
But I let it play the second episode. I don't know if I'm going to let it play going forward.
And that's the thing I'm kind of wrestling with, because it's like, all right, first part was like, all right, that hits it off nicely, but like I said, once it gets to that second part, like once you get past that, I guess it gets back decent again. But yeah,
Right.
So, but yeah, that being said, it still starts out a bop, and it's still kind of a bop either way. So despite the nitpicks that we may have on that, but to get into your question, I thought it was strong. Like we talked about it in the pre-show just a little bit in a ways. I know, as we talked about, there are people, and I've seen as well, there are people who, have issues with the art style. Like those people need
with the art and the animation style.
Right. And I'm like, those people need to get a life. Because I'm trying to think, what in the world would they want it to be?
Well, yeah, I mean, listen, at the end of the day, it's fair to have an opinion on this.
Sure.
And some people, I think unfairly compare something like this to some of the other animation that takes years to produce.
Right.
With with these gigantic teams in Japan and Korea and overseas. I feel that something like this, I just think it's unfair to compare, this style to. I think they're constantly looking to differentiate themselves, and when I say they, I mean Marvel Animation. They're constantly looking to differentiate themselves from other styles of animation. They're looking for, things that are cool and different. And I feel that this is, while it can be a little jarring, I was very much. I think the best way for me to put it is I very much, kind of fell into the story right away.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas I did not, I didn't feel distracted by it. I didn't feel, amazed by it. I was just very much into the story. And there's nothing better I can say about animation other than I noticed it, but I wasn't distracted by it.
Right. Like, so here's the thing. The art is clean, the animation is clean and smooth. Like, yeah, there are parts of it that kind of seem like it. I think it might be intentionally hitting a beat from probably the Spider-Verse movies just a little bit.
Right.
But as you said, not a distraction. Like, yeah, you can tell it. You can kind of see it. But yeah, I don't feel like that it was anything that's should take you out of it. Because like I said, the animation itself is smooth for the most part. The art is clean. They're even putting more comic book touches, here and there within the thing. And I think to go a little bit further on what you just said about what Marvel's trying to do, I think the crew in itself, I would assume, I can't speak for them, but the people behind the scenes with the storyboarding and the showrunner and everything are definitely trying to do something a little different, from what we have seen in the past, and it shows here, and it's kind of working for them. Now, any nitpicks that I might have with the show are very few, honestly, and one we kind of mentioned in the past because of something else, but they're not nitpicks that are going to take me out from watching the show, because the show, from what we've seen from the first 2 episodes, started out strong. So, and I feel like I'm definitely going to be here for the whole season, or however long, this show ends up lasting. Hopefully it does, continues to find its wings and continues to kind of, get a couple of more seasons under its belt.
Sure. There's one thing I did not know or didn't recall learning about until just during our pre-show meeting. There are 10 episodes in this first season, and they're breaking it down. They're breaking down the distribution over just basically the next month of broadcasting.
Right. Yeah, I was about to say we were going to talk about that in the news, but we can talk about that now. So.
Right. And no, I mean, listen. At the end of the day, it'll be coming out in the news. But I didn't realize that that's how they were going to break it down. And leaving that to the news, they're breaking it down, at least in my opinion, into story arcs. They're releasing the episodes in batches to kind of conform to telling certain stories over a certain number of episodes. We'll see if that plays out the way I think it will. But based on the release schedule that we've seen, I think that's going to be the case.
I mean, seems to be the case so far. So yeah, like I said, like you said, we will find that out. And yeah, I mean, like I said, we'll save a little bit. We'll save that a little bit more for the news section because I think that once you see the schedule and the titles of the episodes, that might bear out a little bit more, as you're saying.
Right.
So, but like I said, we'll get to that in the news section.
Right. I wanted to just circle back real quick. There's one thing that Roddycat and I both talked about in our pre-show meeting about the what ifness of it all. And it was something that we both knew going in, but it was still interesting to see it play out, and the way they animated it to basically reframe a certain scene that we're both familiar with, that we're all familiar with from the Civil War movie, but keeping, but making it a different character that is introduced, into the life of Peter Parker. And I kind of got a kick out of seeing how they would weave that together into this version of a Spider-Man story.
Maybe for similar reasons, if the speculators, are right, because there have been some speculations on that scene playing out the similar way that it does, and the reason why it originally happened could be somewhat similar to, how it's playing off here, especially what we found out at the end of episode 2. But again, we'll get to that in no spoilers.
Right.
But yeah, I think as I said before the show, like for a show that is definitely not in the MCU, it is certainly paralleling the from what we know from the MCU, which I ain't mad at it, because as Agent 70 said before the show, like and what he just said with the what if of it, like things play out in a similar way than what we've seen, because it is another parallel. Another parallel universe, an adjacent universe, some would say. Right. So, and it's cool. I guess if we want to talk just a little bit, like I said, no spoilers or anything, but the first episode, like I said, which is called Amazing Fantasy, also has this really nice Easter egg that plays on that. The plays on the title and the original source material in a way that I didn't think about until I saw a video on it or an Easter egg video. I was like, yeah, that could actually be the case. Like it was called this because of what we see throughout the whole, or as a precursor to what we see throughout the whole episode. I'm like, all right, that seems logical.
Well, I kind of chuckled at the idea of these two characters who were very closely tied to Steve Ditko. In their early years, both played major roles in this, show.
So it was like, yeah. So they're basically wearing their inspirations here quite closely, and it's appreciated because, like I said, there's some stories you can see. It's like, oh yeah, that's that, and again, a lot of it is definitely MCU leaning, but at the same time, played out a little bit better, or it's gonna be not better, differently than it does
Yes.
here. That being said, like I said, don't. I want to talk about like specific stuff in the in the show, in the episodes, but we can't do that. So, and it's we talked about a little bit of it before the show, but there's a couple other things I kind of wanted to bring up. Like there's potentials. There are potential folks maybe possibly waiting in the wings and have been introduced here that may or may not, be similar to their comic book characters.
Right.
That may and have shown up. I'll put it that way. Like if you've seen the cast and you know who's, and you have a little bit of Spidey lore, you kind of know. It's like, okay, here's some names that are familiar. Even a character that's not necessarily Spider-Man adjacent, but is adjacent to, well, not even adjacent, but usually, let's just say, could be found in another Marvel book as an adversary is in here. That they could potentially be setting up as a similar thing here. We don't know that, but the number of names that have popped up and people have popped up, in this thing lends itself to be kind of amusing or potentially amusing as to how they get used.
Sure.
And even one we don't get to see, but we feel like that might pop up, but we just don't know who that person is. But we do know there's a potential another person potentially being set up to come in. So, yeah, I don't know. Like I said, you got anything on both the episodes? Because like we didn't really necessarily talk about the episodes per se, but basically, the first episode, kind of sets things up, of course, as it does, and I guess that's why they have the two episodes, because they kind of bridge into each other in the way that things have been going. Also, I said before, real quick, there is a prequel comic out that we've been talking about, and if you read the first prequel comic, then this pretty much the first episode pretty much fills out what they didn't put in there, because obviously they were saving it for the show,
right?
As to why certain things happen in the show or in that book in relation to the show. So, but yeah, like I said, you wanted to.
No, that's pretty much it. Because there's only so much that I would like to say about these two episodes that quite literally dropped yesterday.
Right.
So I'd like to give people a chance to watch this, even though our episode won't necessarily drop in podcast form for a few more days. But anyone that will catch this, live and direct over on YouTube will, I don't want to spoil it for them.
Sure. So, yeah. So I'll just say, and as the last thought, I do like some of the interesting changes that have made. I am still slightly bothered about one potential one. Well, one in particular though, about that has to do with certain characters that show up and potentially be villainous or be adversaries, but we don't know if that's going to be the case or not.
Right.
That is the thing that's kind of sticking with me. But the show's good. You should check it out. I know it's easy to you probably got folks you probably think are knowledgeable and maybe telling you one thing about the show, and sometimes, because people get into that, it's all right, maybe you don't have to watch it. Sometimes you need to watch stuff for yourself, get your own ideas about stuff, because people are biased, and especially the people who are having problems with the art style. I don't know what their problem is. It's weird. Like I'm not, but that's them and not anybody with reasonable senses. So
Gotcha.
listen, give the show a try for yourself and see what you think. And yeah, I'm about to say report back, but we can't hear y'all. You can always, social media us, if you want to. But we are going to move on to the books of the week. And if Agent 70 is set up like I think he is, we are going to start off with, and actually I say that as I have not done my due diligence here. So that's giving both of us a chance to get right. We are going to start off with ThunderCats number 12.
Do the extra touch.
Of course.
Extra touch. All right. So Thundercat. Well, so we are basically a year into this run of the Thundercats comic book under Dynamite. It's written by Declan Shalvey with art by Drew Moss, colors by Martin Pignedali, and letters by Jeff Eckelberry. We find out a lot in this issue. There's a lot that was unknown to us as readers until this issue. We find out that Calico, the character, was not who she seemed to be, and was and further, we also find out that we find out where, I guess, one of the mutants who had been, I don't want to say left out, but that at one point, we were kind of going through the introduction of the mutants here on Third Earth, and one was left out. Right now, we have the full complement, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, I'm not sure if I'm following you on which one you're speaking of. Is it the one that comes in at the end?
Yes.
Okay, no, he's been in the book before.
Oh, has he?
Yeah.
Oh, that is my bad.
In fact, had a run-in with Panthro as his introduction.
Oh, that's the introduction. I see.
Yes.
I see.
Yeah.
I couldn't remember if he came in. I remember them attacking, but I don't remember him being a part of it.
Oh, yeah.
Got it. My apologies, folks. Listen, we read a lot of comic books, and sometimes we fall a little bit behind on a few, and we have to catch up. I feel that I think there's a couple of there's more than a few big reveals in this in this issue. One of them being some of the secret origin of Calico. One of the other ones being they go into a little bit of an explanation regarding the difference between Thundrillium and Thundranium. Rodcat had an on-air recorded conversation about this, maybe regarding this issue, like maybe 3 issues ago.
I think it was longer than that, actually, because
right. Exactly. Like closer to the inception of this book, because because I bumped on it. I specifically remember bumping on it, and it's taken them to this point to really explain it. Well, not this point specifically, because I know that they've touched upon it, but now we've gotten even more explanation about it in this issue.
Yeah, they solidified it for certain.
Right.
Because what we knew from the show and what we found out here that may or that I don't think was in the show that they were probably reintroducing as a thing, they didn't bear that out, and that's which led us to our first conversation. And now they've decided to, like, no, we're just gonna go ahead and shore all of that up and introduce something new. Actually, from what I can understand from this, So yeah, that was good that they finally did it. But yeah, I was like, I remember that conversation in reading that part, and it was like, huh, okay. So they actually, part of me was like, huh, maybe they heard us.
Imagine.
Like, I would, not to put a damper on. I'm pretty sure we were not the only ones who may have bumped up on it, but I feel like we were the ones. But
Right.
we did. Definitely on air, so maybe they heard us and it was like, oh yeah, maybe we should address that.
Right.
So who's to say? We don't know. But yeah, the interesting part of this, as Agent 70 said, or one of the interesting parts of this ends up being the couple of revelations that have to do with the Calico in this issue, amongst other things. And we start to see familiar things come about, let's just say, in one case in point, alliance wise, at near the end. And of course, as I show this variant cover here, we're still continuing to see Tigra and Chitara, as I said in my notes, in a one-sided spar, but ends up being I guess sweet, for lack of a better words, because they're doing their thing in this book while things are going on around them. We catch up a little bit on Lino, funnily
Just a little.
yeah, funnily enough,
a little.
So yeah, we get a little bit of check-ins on everybody with the revelations and whatnot. I think the only other couple of people that we don't actually see active in this particular issue. Well, he gets mentioned, but Snarf doesn't show up. Mumra doesn't show up, but we but we kind of sort of get a check-in by proxy,
Right.
as far as that's concerned. And I think there's probably one other mutant is mentioned, but so yeah, we get some check-ins on mostly everybody in the goings on in this. So cool stuff as it continues to be in the pages of this book. And actually, I might apologize, Agent 70, because there is a correction that I have to make.
Okay.
Because you said it was Martin Pignondelli. It's Martina. You had a typo in your
apologies.
Yeah, in your notes. I was like, wait, what? So
Apologies.
it's all good. It's all good. But yeah, ThunderCats 12 continues to be good. Continues to be great. I would say, but that's just me. Yeah, I'm unlike what we know what's going to be happening with Transformers. Hopefully, we're not going to hear about Declan Shalvey getting off of this book anytime soon. So here's to hoping. And next up, of course, well, I say of course, but y'all don't know, but we do unless you keep up with comic books, is the new #1 of the week that is, let's just say, ThunderCats adjacent by way of animation, and that is, and I'm pretty sure Age of Seven doesn't have anything on this one, but I got him for this. SilverHawks #1. Had to do it.
Okay. I've not heard that in ages.
Yeah.
So SilverHawks #1 is published by Dynamite. It's written by Ed Brisson with art by George Kamba. Forgive me on this because when I see this, I want to. My gut says it's Greek, so George Kambadeus.
I think that's right. Yeah.
What's that?
I said I think that's right. Yeah.
Colors are by Ellie Wright and letters are by Jeff Eckelberry. Roddy Cat and I had this in our pre-production meeting as a topic of discussion because I did not pick up on the fact that this is kind of a prequel to what we understood about the characters who were the main group in the SilverHawks animated series that we grew up with. I don't recall reading any other source material. I know that ThunderCats had a Star Comics, published by Marvel Comics comic book that ran not exactly at the same time that the episodes were coming out, but it was close. I know that I had the first issue. I didn't keep up with the series, but I know that I had the first issue. I don't know if this is a concept that's been explored elsewhere, but Roddy Cat might know. He might have done a little bit of research on this.
So I believe, I'm not entirely certain, but I believe this is a reimagining of things as I told Agent 70s, is like the folks, let's just put it this way, the folks that we see throughout the majority of this issue, with the exception of one who happens to be the commander, and who was the commander in the show. Some of these other folks, I don't believe we have seen prior to this.
Right.
So this, which is what's led me believe that this might be them kind of, which they have been doing, because I've like they've doing, like Dynamite's been doing with ThunderCats to a little smaller extent, and to slightly greater extent with Space Ghost, because like that Space Ghost book's got a whole lot of more backstory than I don't think we've pretty much ever had for that character. So, right. And I think they're doing something similar here in how they're introducing the team or how they're going to introduce the team that we know from the show, put it that way, without giving too much away. And before I go any further, shout out to Von Gloom, who just popped up in the chat talking about son of a gun. Late again, if I was late like this relationship wise, I would be the daddy of Nick Cannon status. You're a wild fellow.
No.
You are a wild fellow. And then he says the rainbow in the sky. And he also, I guess he also provides us some info, because he says, yeah, because Hot Wings, which hasn't been introduced in the story yet, but will be coming next issue, I believe. Yeah, because Hot Wings was a part of the previous iteration of the team, but he appeared much more later in the cartoon. Yeah, like I said, that's a little bit something more for next issue, because I believe that's when that person, which I still can't believe is named that, is coming into play, along with another one of the members of the core crew. Well, I guess he is. Okay. And Von Gloom also says they never fleshed out Hot Wings' team. So I don't know if the team that shows up here, but I guess it makes sense if that is the case. If that's the right they're going with, if the team that shows up in this as a precursor to the team that folks know from the cartoon is the team that Hot Wing was on before, I guess, joining the quote unquote new crew. Like I said, there's parts of this book that they haven't really fleshed out yet, because the book just started. So they pretty much gave us the backstory on one character and the project in itself, and also kind of started in a similar way that the show did with a certain thing that happens, but in a different way. But at the same time, as we know from Marvel and DC and whatever not, bad guys don't stay locked up for long.
Right.
Because
you'll finish your thought. I just wanted to add a note.
Okay, I was about to say, because sometimes it's like, because the way when I started reading it, the way it started out felt like, okay, well, this seems like something that could have come at the end of the cartoon, as in like, okay, well, hey, this is a thing. So, and it could very well, no, it couldn't, because the way things played out here, but it kind of feels like, well, this could be the way that the cartoon could have ended, but since events happened in this issue, they had to do they had to bring things back, but it doesn't necessarily play out that way. What were you gonna say?
I just wanted to make note that my recollection of SilverHawks lore in the cartoon is spotty at best, because it's one of those things that wasn't playing when I got home,
Hmm.
or wasn't, it wasn't something where it went into syndication and I was able to track down easily.
Right.
I probably watched, I don't even recall whether or not I ever went back to track down lost episodes, or things I hadn't caught, or I don't even know how many seasons this was actually produced for.
Actually, I'm bringing it up right now, and I don't think it was only, if I'm not mistaken, it was only a couple. So I will say this: my recollection of it is not that much better than yours, because I remember watching probably a handful of episodes.
Wait, 65 episodes? Are
So
you
that's a
kidding
season.
me?
So that's a season. I mean, from back then. So yeah, that makes sense.
Holy cow.
Yeah, like I said, that 65. That was normal for shit back then. Um. So yeah, that all plays out. But again, I've only seen probably a handful, probably upwards, if 10 to 12 that I can think of episodes.
Right. I don't remember that many episodes coming out, but this basically ran over the course of from September 86, September 8th of 86, going into the winter, the end of the year. Wow.
Which, again, how things, like I said, back then we had it good because the season was 65 episodes and that's how they would last. And then it would take a break and then come back a whole 65 strong again in the next year. So, but yeah, there's that. Oh, which I will say, and you probably have already seen this part. If I'm not mistaken, they are on Prime Video to watch. If anyone's interested and you have Prime Video. I think that was the case because I know I watched one not too long ago and I didn't have to pay for it. So, unless which they very much could have taken off. Wait a minute, maybe they did take it off because I'm seeing according to what I'm looking at, it's on Apple TV.
Gotcha. They might have taken that off.
That's yeah, it is on Prime Video, but for sale,
purchase, right?
For rent or or to buy. Damn, well, I guess I glad I watched it when I did, but like I said, I was actually kind of gonna try to do some archiving of that show for reasons.
Right. My point being, and forgive me for not understanding that they would have 65 episodes back in the day, but I don't recall seeing that many instances of SilverHawks on television.
Yeah. And so from what I remember,
1 year,
right?
If I missed it, it never came back in syndication.
Right, or they stopped playing it on whatever channel it went on to, and probably was on something else.
Exactly.
So yeah, like I said, it was from what I remember. I remember Thunder. Well, let me see. So it was kind of weird because obviously you had the G.I. Joe Transformers block. Might have been reversed. Actually, it was reversed for me now that I think about it. And I think at a certain point when ThunderCats came through, and then obviously since SilverHawks came in later, I think they had a block where ThunderCats and then SilverHawks was a block.
Right.
So, and I remember, like I said, because I remember watching ThunderCats up to a good point. However, like I said, the same didn't happen with SilverHawks. And the only other thing I can remember, I feel like there was supposed to be a crossover between them, and maybe that happened that I don't remember. Because like I said, I only watched like a handful of shows for SilverHawks. Because I damn sure don't remember Hot Wing at all. In that whole 65 episode thing. So it might have been a point thing to where it might have been still coming on, but I just wasn't watching because for whatever reason, or they moved it, which also a thing that kind of happened back in the day.
Gotcha.
Or any number of other reasons as to why, and as Von Gloom mentions, Tiger Sharks was on. Yeah, Tiger Sharks. I never watched that because I thought it was stupid, and I was like, they took it too far.
Okay, I don't even remember Tiger Sharks. That's
Tiger
way
Shark.
beyond me.
Oh yeah, Tiger Sharks was basically another one of those with the same from the same from one thing it was Rankin Bass with the same people. So they basically went from ThunderCats to SilverHawks, and then it was like, oh, let's keep this going. Let's do Tiger Sharks, and that came on
Wow.
Saturday mornings, I think, or something, or either Saturday or Sunday morning. I don't remember, but I never watched it because I was like, okay, this is stupid. They're going too far.
My God, I do not remember that at all.
You know what? You do well not to, because I don't recall it. So this is one of the things. I know there is a Twitch channel that would like revisit old cartoons and whatnot on occasion. Actually, they do it a lot, and I don't know if they've done this one. It's called Black Comic Chat. Just shout them out. They don't know me, but whatever. I would like to believe they probably would have done an episode of Tiger Sharks. They've done other things like Samurai Pizza Cats and whatever the other odd craziness that is going on. And it's kind of funny to watch. But yeah, that was kind of a thing I kind of wanted to do here too. But at the same time, trying to find some of that stuff is kind of weird.
Sure.
But it's also a lot of it is on YouTube, so you can definitely find that stuff.
My goodness.
Oh, so Von Gloom. So yeah, so Von Gloom goes to the backstory of Tiger Sharks. They became merfolk when they entered a special pool. Otherwise, they were regular people.
Oh my God.
Yeah, like I said, dumb. But SilverHawks.
I'm like, wait a second. You know, part of me wants to go on a deep dive and find out what channel was this on, Von Gloom. You know,
it was definitely. I mean, obviously, we only had 3 channels, or I guess at some point 4. But you're in New York, so you probably had a little bit more than I did. To put it that way, because of your proximity to other places, to other boroughs.
Right.
But yeah, that was definitely on a like regular, local channel, just like the other ones were.
Sure.
So. But yeah, if you do happen to do a little science and research into that, you please let me know. Please let me know of your findings. Like I said, that's probably a thing that, like, Tiger Sharks I've definitely seen, but didn't care too much for. Like,
right.
Oh, so Von Gloom kind of has an answer for you. Channel 9 in New York.
Yeah. Oh my God!
Because I forgot he is a New Yorker just like you. So There you go. So there you go.
WWOR. Technically, that channel is based out of Jersey, but yeah, I get it.
So asked, then answered. You love it.
Thank you.
I think he says thanks SilverHawks too, but you probably see that in chat too. But it would make sense because, like I said, if they carried Thunderhawks, then they'd probably carry the rest of those either because they were all, on the same folks.
Gotcha.
So, but yeah, as a I guess getting back to the book itself, what did you think? Even with what knowledge you have of SilverHawks, what did you think of the beginning of this issue?
I thought it was, a good setup. I liked the idea that I did not recall much of the cartoon.
Mm-hmm.
And this was basically setting up the one character that seemed familiar to me.
Oh, which was the leader guy?
Leader.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, because part of me was like, okay, well, where were they going with this introduction? And it was like, okay, there was a couple of things here and there. I was like, okay, I know who this person is. And then there's this other characters come in on the sideline. It's like, wait, so who? What? And I didn't think about it at the time, which I guess I should have. But like, oh, this is what they're trying to do. So, but it all turned out good, as in good. If you are familiar enough with the SilverHawks, you might be you might hit upon, how this starts off. Von Gloom, I don't know. I assume you probably read it. So what if you got some thoughts in the chat, you let us know what how you feel about it. But I guess without the familiarity with the cartoon or enough of, it's like, okay, so it's just this is what we get, or how we get what we get. So, because and like I said, I will say this again and say this a couple of different other times. Cartoons back in the day never really gave us a whole lot of backstory on shit.
Right.
Like if you got an origin episode, then it was like, okay, well, here's how they got from here to there, but nothing really that just like, okay, well, here's this other stuff that was also going on that also might have led up to this,
Right.
And it might have been even part of a flashback from back in the day. So it might not have been a whole episode. This was like, yeah, this is da, and blah blah blah. Fine Gloom says, oh, he does the chant. He does the Monstar chant, so he knows. And also says, didn't realize it was this week and I missed. Oh, so you hadn't read it this week. Well, when you read it, you let us know what you think.
Right.
Because I feel like we buffed it up enough, or at least I did. Buffed it up coming up to now. So it was like there was no way in the world I was not going to read this book. And actually got me out there looking for a collection of the show, which used to be a thing because I feel like I do remember seeing a DVD collection out there, but I don't know if it's still available. And now that it's not on Prime Video anymore, that might be, or let's just say maybe there's other means to find such things outside of YouTube, because I'm pretty sure YouTube's probably got the whole season. Got the whole series out there. So that is a way to go if folks are interested in that. Yeah, as Von Gloom says, we didn't get origins for cartoons until the 90s with Disney Afternoon, which even some of those didn't really do much of that. At least the ones that I'm thinking of did. So you might be able to go a little farther along with that than I did, because I think mine pretty much goes like DuckTales, Darkwing Duck, and maybe a little bit of Tailspin. Like I've seen a couple of the other ones, but outside of that, I'm like, nah. Because I didn't even watch Gargoyles, and I know that's a big one amongst younger folks.
Yeah, I was about to say Gargoyles came out much, much later.
Yeah, well, mentions that. So every cartoon from Rescue Rangers to Gargoyles had an Origins movie split into 3 episodes. So wait, I did watch Rescue Rangers, and I don't remember that. Oh, yes, I do. I kind of do, actually. But that was like an origin for the team, though, and not into their individual background. That is what I'm talking about. Or maybe they did, because I do remember for what you're talking about with the Rescue Rangers, like that one basically mostly focused on Chip and Dale, and they might have had like, here's a flashback to what Gadget, got into for like a hot second before getting up with the team, or Monterey Jack or that. But I don't remember them doing like, hey, here's what everybody was, some deep lore into what everybody got into before coming into the thing. But yeah, I do remember the Rescue Rangers 3-parter. Gargoyles is still one that I still need to watch, and luckily that's out there to watch. But regardless, before we go too much farther off track,
Right.
But yeah, that was SilverHawks. Like I said, anything else we would have to say about it would be kind of spoiling the issue, and since we definitely know they introduced Monterey and Gadget, yeah, okay, we'll be spoiling things for folks, especially Von Gloom, who hasn't read it yet. We are going to push on, actually. Actually, wait, was there something else I was going to say about that? No, that was it. No, we said everything. So the next book we're going to be talking about is another license for, and Agent 70 brought this up in the pre-production show too, which I was like, yeah, pretty much, because most of the stuff we read are mostly licensed fare, or at least up until now, or up until after this book we're talking about, which is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles number 6.
Right, of the 2024 iteration under IDW. It's written by Jason Aaron, with art by Juan Ferreira and letters by Sean Lee. So it's taken 6 issues. but they call them the Hamato clan, and it makes sense, right? It's the four turtles we all know, finally back together again, and doing what family does when they all get together, and that's bicker and fight, and bicker, and it's very much we've used the 6 issues up until now to kind of get an idea of what the current dynamics are between each turtle, and we see that all on display in this issue. We have some updates on some of the other characters that we have become very familiar with when it comes to the turtles, extended family, as it were. And we have an idea of what their current situation is. You don't necessarily need to understand what happened in all of the previous Turtles IDW issues, right? Before Jason Aaron took over and basically did a fresh #1. There are certain concepts that are explored here very tangentially, with groups of other, let's just say, mutant style characters, other forms of mutants in this corner of their world, their reality. So, you don't necessarily need to be that familiar with it. It just helps that you know who the main turtles are. That's who the focus of the story still is on. And I would say that I think that's still for the benefit of most of the lapsed readers and the people like myself who are just very much on the edges of understanding what's going on with the turtles. And so that's, it's definitely to our benefit. We're 6 issues into a new run on the turtles, and I found it fairly interesting and quick to catch up on. I had fallen behind on 2 issues or 2 or 3 issues, and I found it quick to catch up on.
Yeah, I was up on it, but I'm trying to remember. Did I go back? No, this wasn't the book I went back. There was another book I read this week that I had to kind of do some backtracking on. So thankfully, at least remembered some things. And also, man, I hate that whatever's going on recently with Diamond screwed some things up as far as finding covers. But that's beside the point at this particular juncture. But yeah, I enjoyed this. Like I said, yeah, we still the thing that kind of gets me with this issue, or there was this book, is we still, although we kind of sort of presumably got a glimpse of why the turtles were split apart, because it was kind of mentioned, but at the same time they spent most of the issue or parts of the issue still kind of teasing that out. Kind of just a carrot on the stick on that one. And we still don't know the full reason why it is. Like, we are given a reason, but that doesn't sound like a good enough reason for that to be the case with what was mentioned. And then they go on teasing things. I was like, all right, how long are you gonna just continue to do this? Like, and hopefully it's something good. And maybe it could very well be something that happened at the end of the last volume, and neither Agent 70 or I, or read that book, so we don't know, what happened throughout most of it, if not any of that book, much less the end of it, to know what could have been the case. Because we do know at least one aspect with one of the characters does definitely carry over from that book, and that is kind of what's going on with Donatello, which that hurts me more than anything, because that's my favorite turtle. And to see him as he is now, I was like, oh man, how you gonna do that to my boy? Just gonna fuck around with Donnie like that, man? Just It hurts my heart. It hurts my heart. But also and we get a narration from, we technically don't know who, but you do kind of get a sense of who it is.
Right.
Which, given how you think about it, seems to be implausible, or or less than possible, I should say. But at the same time, hey, it's a narrator of a comic book. You kind of gotta throw some things out, or they could be setting up something. They could be setting up something to come with this. We don't know what Jason Aaron's doing with this. Von Gloom says, I ain't scared of no spoilers. Yeah, but we still got to think about, not just that, but just other people that come to the show.
Sure.
Plus, like I said, it's more fun when you read it yourself and not get spoiled by us saying some random thing. But Von Gloom also says, last volume, Donnie pulled a Teen Hank and got pulled into dark magic and created time-winding foolishness. Yeah, I remember. I think his issue, which was 4, I believe, of this volume, kind of mentioned that to a point, but like I said, still never really read that stuff. And I think even little bits of news that I might have informed a little bit of it. So
Gotcha.
Yeah, they introduced a predestination. That part I remember reading in news about that last volume. In fact, I think we might even talked about that on the show, but like I said, neither one of us was reading it, so it was like, what was the case, and didn't necessarily think that it would end up being important for this, which it still may or may not be, because we don't know. So, regardless, I'm not speaking for Agent 70 for this, but it has still been a pretty good read so far. I would dare say potential click of the week, actually. With the things going on in this particular issue, they are. I will go so far as to say that they're back in New York, and the troubles that have that are going on there, especially and we get little glimpses into a couple of the side characters of that folks know and love. Or maybe know, and at least one case like. I don't know if somebody likes that character, who even knows. But that pop up. So yeah, therein lies that. Unless you got something else, Agent 70 on that, we can move on.
No. What's next?
Then next up, we actually get into some Marvel some Marvel comics. How about that, folks? West Coast Avengers number 3 is our next book.
West Coast Avengers number 3 is written by Jerry Duggan, with art by Danny Kim, colors by Arthur Hesley, and letters by our favorite lettering paisan VC's Joe Caramagna. We actually get filled in on what this whole multiple Ultron thing is all about. And I think that's important because, it was mildly confusing up until this point, and it really helped to, kind of flesh that out. It's an interesting concept. We obviously have seen multiple Ultrons before, but we've never seen them basically multiply and diversify in terms of the types of personalities that they embody. And that's the concept that we're exploring here. One of the things that's unfortunate is, it's something that was that's teased in the next issue teaser. But Roddy Cat and I talked about it briefly in our pre-production meeting. But I won't talk about it here. But once you get to the end of this issue, you will see it. But yeah, I would say that just based on what we find out in this issue, at least we get some concepts fleshed out as to what is the difference between the various Ultrons in this version of the story. This version of telling what differentiates what used to be like Ultron 1 versus Ultron 2 and so on and so forth.
Right. Oh, and I'm sorry, Crap.
No, that's it. That's it. I wanted to pass it on.
Gotcha. I was going to say that the thing Agent 70 mentions about what's coming next issue, I don't think you were here actually when we talked about it in the news. Actually, now that I think about it, because I feel like we talked about it and we did, but I don't think you were here when that news came out.
You mean so you talked about it in
there was a news article about that coming up. Yeah.
So it was a news article that was about whatchamacallit? Oh my god, why is the industry term escaping me? It's it's late, folks. Sometimes we get a little tired. Solicitations. Got it.
Yeah. So yeah, but still doesn't it changes nothing, because I'm with you in the fact that, as we talked about before the show, I'm not crazy about that whole thing happening either, and I hope it's not a long-term thing. Because they have fucked with, I will just go ahead and say it, they have fucked with Firestar a long time in the pages of Marvel Comics, and I don't appreciate it. How you gonna treat a spider friend like that? You just sad. Just so sad. Von Gloom says, as long as we don't get a Victorian dandy Ultron, I feel like that is a What If reference from the show What If, which I honestly would like to have seen that if we're keeping it honest, because they teased that whole thing and I was like, why can't we see that? This show could have had way more legs, but that's a whole other situation. We didn't talk about that already. But yeah, West Coast Avengers, I don't know. I'm still enjoying it because it's Jerry Duggan and it's just started, and I don't know where I'm thinking this is going to go. I can't say that I want it to be like the old wackos. It would be nice, but let's face it, that's a whole nother era past. So, and it'll be a fool's errand to think that you can recapture that lightning. And that's me personally saying that, because like I said, y'all folks may or may not know, I loved West Coast Avengers, my favorite Avengers group. And every iteration that has come out since has not really fully captured the fun of that original group. But also, that is just me being biased because of that original group. So I am grown enough to recognize my bias in that. But yeah, like I said, there's another thing that is talked about in the course of, or at least that is brought up, which apparently Tony is still keeping ties, which not surprising, with some secret friends.
Yeah. An interesting way to end the issue.
Yes. Of which the last time I saw these folks was actually, I think when they had a when they had a miniseries, not sometime last year. I think it was last year or 2 years ago, one or two, when this version formed. Let's just say. And I wasn't sure whether they were going to do anything more with that group or not. But apparently they are still around each other. Von Klim says, Living Lightning, Wonder Man, Hawkeye. Wait, Living Lightning? No, not that version. We're talking about before there. I'm talking Hawkeye, Mockingbird, Tigra, Wonder Man, Iron Man. Maybe you go Firebird and Hank Pym. And yeah, sure, Scarlet Witch and Vision. That, but that's where it stops. Once U.S. agent comes into the thing, and before they break off into the Force Works, no.
Right.
I think Druid might have popped in, but I don't think he was on that roster. He was definitely because he was on the regular Avengers roster around that time, or at some point around that time. So if he popped up there, he might have popped up as like, oh yeah, I'm just happen to be over here for a second, but I don't think he was actually on the team. Thank goodness. And Von Gloom asked a question. Oh, Avengers AI. I would like to know that myself, sir. Yes, so Bangla was asking what happened to the Ultron introduced by Al Ewing, which I think was Avengers AI, which is a great book. I think they might be still around. I don't know, but I couldn't tell you anything. So, and that's kind of going off a little bit farther than we probably should at this point.
Right.
So that is the conversation we'll have to that'll have to dive into at some point. If that's characters probably lost like Chikasa, even though Chikasa's been around recently. So that being the case, we're going to get into the last book that we have in common, which is, and I forgot to put the variant covers here, but that's okay. X-Men number 10.
X-Men number 10 is written by Jed MacKay with pencils by Netho Diaz, inks by Sean Parsons, and colors are by Pharisee Fuentes Sujo. My notes do not indicate who the letter is, but I am going to look that up for you.
Yeah, I got you.
Letter by BC Clayton Cowles.
There you go. I was about to say you can look down at my thing. Yeah. What you got?
So I like the title of this book because it immediately sets the stage. So the title of the story for this issue is Brinkmanship. And we joke about times when the cover does not come in at all as an element of the story, because sometimes you just get stock covers that are that are just pretty pinups, but they're not actually based on any elements of the story. The cover in this issue doesn't necessarily come up, but it's definitely inspired by what this story is about. And the title of the book, the title of the story of this book is Brinkmanship, and that absolutely comes up. And there's, I think, a pretty interesting standoff here between Cyclops and his team in Alaska and what is going on in the wake of the fall of Krakoa and the current state of brinkmanship is just a great term. I hadn't heard it in so long, and I had to kind of reestablish what it meant in my head. And then when I saw it play out in this issue, I really liked what MacKay did here. And it definitely plays into a couple of ongoing stories, including what's going on in Phoenix. But overall, I really liked the way this issue played out. As I said, the term brinkmanship, once you see how it works in this issue, will really help you understand where the mutants stand with not just the U.S. government, but just in against the world, the world that hates and fears them in general. And I really enjoyed it. This is definitely a pretty strong contender for Click of the Week for me. What did you think? Thoughts? Oh,
Sorry, I was muted. So yeah, I also enjoyed this issue. I feel like this is kind of one of those issues that Gail Simone would have probably joked about. Because it was like, oh, Cyclops and this and another, but because she has that running thing. But no, this was, I enjoyed it because, like, yes, you always get the sense that, hey, Cyclops plays 3 or 4D chess, and it's always been a running joke. It's like, yeah, he's always got a plan like he's Batman or something, whatever it could be. But it's kind of one of those things like, all right, this is one of those plans was like, oh no, this is, and you could also, and matter of fact, I think they even kind of touch on it when he's talking to Dude, was like, nah, he had these plans set in motion since they set him up at, or not, this is kind of had him set up at the end of the Krakoan era. So he's been kind of sitting and seasoning on this for quite a while, but that's the kind of beauty of it, because it's like, oh no, so as he says in the issue, you brought a knife, I brought a gun.
Yeah.
So and a quite effective one, honestly. And the dude he was talking to at the time wasn't really getting it. It was like, oh wait, like this could go very bad, and yeah, I was going to bring that up also. Apparently, whatever plans, which is kind of funny also because I have brought up Boom Boom as a thing a couple of times on social media fairly recently. So the fact that she's actually shown up in a book, I'm not saying I had nothing to do with it, but you kind of wonder sometimes where characters are in relation to them, and I think I said it in relation to Jubilee, who's in the other book, but regardless, so it was kind of funny reading to the point and it was like, oh, okay, so so Cyclops got plans and it's got to do with her. That can't always go well, but it makes sense how they're being used, which actually brings up something else because the plan that he ends up enacting before he has this chat with this with the dude that shows up, whose name is escaping me. Who the hell are some of these people? Some of those people, because I only recognized a couple of them. Like it was Phantom X, it was Boom Boom, and I think most, if not the rest of them, I have no idea who they were.
I had to look them up, but but some of the names look familiar.
Mm-hmm.
X-Force is where some of them pop up.
Okay, well that's probably why I don't.
Right, like later issues of X-Force.
Right, because I didn't stay on the X-Force. So that would make some sense there. But anyways, so what ends up being, hey, guess what? The team is away, the base gets attacked, but before Magneto, ends up doing or pretty much gets prepared to go all out and whatever with whoever was there, which granted was not a lot of people. The team comes back, and then the rest of the thing kind of plays out with hey, you think you're going to get some action in this issue, and you do, but it's not action by the team. So as like I said, Cyclops kind of enacts a protocol that he's been sitting on since they was messing with him, and to great effect. And as I say in my notes, he's been learning from Beast, because we get a little known backstory into into some early X-Men dealings. The original X-Men dealings, I should say, or maybe it could be an X-Factor, but no, this seems like it was definitely from original X-Men days that a lesson was learned, or a lesson was definitely learned. Von Gloom says that the Bedlam brothers are from the Ages of Apocalypse, working for Dark Beast. Okay. The Bedlam brother with the stupid X in his hair was also from the Pete Wisdom-led X-Force, which I did not read.
That's what I recall. I didn't recognize the other Bedlam brother.
Right.
But yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So all of that was lost on me. And I think I said this, but yeah, Boom Boom always with the wrong crowd and blowing up stuff. Hey, you know what? She's a girl that needs action. If she's not blowing up nothing, she's not happy. Maybe maybe she'll be back with next wave. Who's to say? Hopefully, please let that happen. Also, Von Gloom says, is Dr. Druid basically a Timu Doctor Strange? That's kind of funny, but I was going to say, I think CEO Magico, or whatever his name was, from that Power Man and Iron Fist run.
Yeah, that guy.
Yeah, right. That's definitely a Timu Doctor Strange.
Listen, I'll make a small confession here. I had no idea what Temu or Timu was until it was recently made clear to me by a family member, and I was like, "This exists? This is real?"
Yeah, oh yeah. They advertise all over the place. So
I haven't seen them until now. Now that I've Googled it, I'm sure it'll hit all my feeds at some point.
Absolutely. Now you done it.
Good Lord,
you've done it now. But yeah, X-Men 10, good issue, great issue, potential click of the week, because that whole conversation with Scott and the other agent dude, and the ongoing stuff around that just made this a really great really great read to
Yep.
me. So therein lies that. And of course, like I said, boom boom.
It's Agent Lundqvist.
Right. Yeah, that was dude's name. I don't know. He has a punchable face, but forgettable name to me.
Oh, I mean, I was about to say what's funny about it is, he's got the same name as a great New York Rangers goaltender, but that's pretty much the only connection I would have with him.
I wonder if there was some inspiration there.
Maybe. Hard to say.
Yeah, hard to say. You'd have to ask McKay next time you see him.
Yep.
Actually, let me run through a couple of these variant covers real quick. That's the magic one. Actually, I don't have that many, so that's good. Anyway, now we are going to go into rapid fire.
All righty, folks. Here we go. Rapid fire review time.
I ain't got time to bleed.
Hold on. Oh, it's moving around. Apologies, folks.
I said, yeah, your sound effects was your sound effects had changed, sir.
Why are my sound effects like kind of shifted around my board here? So I needed to, I basically need to just mute myself very quickly and move things back to how I normally keep them organized.
Okay,
That's okay. Go ahead.
Oh, you want me to do mine first?
Yeah, because
okay, I wasn't prepared for that, but wait.
if you'd like, I will jump in because I don't have too many. I will start then.
Okay.
Let's go with Moon Knight, Fist of Khonshu #4. It's written by Jed McKay, with art by Devmalia Pramanik, colors by Rochelle Rosenberg, and letters by VC's Corey Petit. So I needed to catch up on this book because there's a couple of Moon Knight books that are going on right now. One of them is Fist of Khonshu, which is the reboot, now that Mark Spector is back in the land of the living, as it were. And there's also Phases of the Moon Knight, which is going on. So I wanted to say that this is a pretty strong book that picks up essentially where we left off at the last, with the last run of Moon Knight. And if you're enjoying that, as written by Jed McKay, this picks up, right where we left off, and really amps up a lot of the tension because we've brought in a character who is seemingly going after Moon Knight on multiple fronts, and it's someone who is, I want to say unbeknownst to us, and was and is introduced at the beginning of this arc. So it's weird that he would be giving Moon Knight such a run for his money, but he finds a way to do that and really hit. And I hate to put it this way, but it's really apt. Really hits Moon Knight, very close to home, and that's as much of a spoiler as I'll give you. Bottom line, though, is that I really very much enjoyed this issue. I did have to catch up on this book and have to read a couple of issues to catch up, but having caught up, I really like this issue. It's another contender for Click of the Week for me. Next up is Psylocke #3. It's written by Alyssa Wong with art by Vincenzo Caratu, colors by Fer Cifuentes Sujo, and letters by VC's Ariana Mar. So, much like Moon Knight, I also had to catch up on this book. I had fallen behind. I had missed the second issue, so I had to circle back and read that. But what we see here is, I guess, what I fail to understand, and the writer and editor team have done a decent job of helping fill in some of the blanks, some of the other times that these characters have have shown up, and they've introduced a new character, a new big bad for this character to fight, for Psylocke, for Quanon to fight. It's weird to see Shinobi Shaw being portrayed in a favorable light, and he's not. But there's some more neutral aspects to his characterization here in this issue, in these issues, in this miniseries, as opposed to how we've seen him, going back to the Claremont days, when Shinobi Shaw was introduced. So, it's different to see this character slightly fleshed out here. But this is a pretty enjoyable. I'm going to say first 3 issues of this miniseries. Next and last for me is Storm Life Dream #1. So I'm going to go through. This is a voices book, so it's kind of told in anthology style. So there's a prologue, and it's written by John Jennings with art by Edwin Gallman, colors by Andrew Dahlhaus. There's a chapter 1 and epilogue, both written by Angelique Roche, with art by Aletha E. Martinez, colors by Andrew Dahlhaus. Chapter 2 of the story is written by Brittany Morris, with art by Charles Stewart III, colors by Frank William. Chapter 3 of the story is written by Curtis Baxter, with art by Karen S. Darbo, and colors by Yen Nitro. Ultimately, what this is both a history of the character of Storm, plus an analysis of what we have read so far, with a certain twist to it, with from a certain angle. And it's an analysis of what makes the character both, some of the, let's just say it's an analysis of both the foibles and the strengths of the characters, and of the character, and the character's interactions with other main characters, who have played, kind of pivotal roles in the history of Storm up until the present. So, if you're into something like this, where it's kind of a walk down memory lane, but with a specific way of looking at things from a certain perspective, it's a pretty cool analysis and review of the story of Storm to date. And so I definitely enjoyed taking a look at this. It's a voices book, so that's why there's so many. It's such a large creative team, telling different aspects of this story together. And that's it for me.
Okay, yeah, I was actually flipping through it while you were talking. I'm gonna have to circle back around to that. Von Gloom in the chat says, "Forgot that Shinobi Shaw was resurrected." Yeah, that was a thing that did happen. Weirdly enough, I remember that. But let's see. For me, my first book in Rapid Fires is another licensed book. Go figure. It is Power Lords, #1 of 3, from Oni Press and Nacelle Company, those folks that gave us the toys that made us, and also I think bringing this particular toy line back out, actually. But written by Dennis Culver and Matt Hodson, art by V. Ken Marion, colors by Andrew Dahlhaus, and letters by Ghost Glyph Studios Taylor Esposito, which is another name outside of George Cambadius I see kind of in a couple of specific places. But so like I said, I have never interacted with the toy line that this book is based off of. I don't know if there was. This is one of the few times you're going to hear me say, I don't know if there was an adjacent cartoon with this, or I have not seen whatever adjacent cartoon. Because, folks, I have watched a lot of cartoons in my life. I can think of some real dumb out of the way ones. That one, not so much. I do, however, and if you go to the show notes in the clickbait section, there is a link to a YouTube channel some of y'all might know called Secret Galaxy, or formerly known as Toy Galaxy, who did a video on the story of Power Lords. So if you, like me, are not that familiar with it, you can check it out. Or if you are familiar with it, you can see what they say about it. So, you know, I actually haven't checked out the video yet, but I knew I saw they had done one. Or maybe I had watched this before, I don't remember. But regardless, so again, Power Lords #1, 80s toy line, made possibly into an animated cartoon at some point, but also now revitalized into a comic book, a 3-issue comic book, as I've said. And anything that happened in this book, I have no idea how much of it has anything to do with the original toy run / lore that was in place for this toy line. Maybe Von Gloom can shed some light on this, but he's talking about something else in the chat. But kind of in similar vein of how Sector's comic book started, there ended up being an attack on the good guys, but in different fashion, though. That one kind of was a plot. In this particular case, this leads into there's a weird, I don't know why, but there's a weird Guardians of the Galaxy vibe in this. And that, again, may have something to do with the fact that I'm not that familiar with, you know, the source material, because apparently there is a person in here named Adam Power, who is from Earth, who ends up in space with a crew of folks. And I guess as per things that would happen during the 80s in the toy line, he gets like a power gem or something that gives him fantastical powers. But he's brash and this and that and other, whatever. In this particular book, well, I guess all of that still is the case, but he ends up getting himself in some trouble and finding himself in a timey-wimey situation, and also without his trademark power jewel, which he's going to find. And apparently his old crew is trying to find him, but he's aligned himself with another crew that may end up coming together at the end with everybody else. Who's to say? And that just leads to some shenanigans with, you know, with what they get into, and I guess whatever the adversarial nature is going on in that universe. If you are familiar with that, then you're more familiar with it than me, and I can't apologize because, hey, you know, that was a thing, and it was a lot in the 80s. Such as a lot of variant covers right here, which I won't get into. But the next book that I'm going to talk about, also licensed, and actually I might not have that book because what I mentioned earlier. Yeah, I don't have the cover to that book. Masters of the Universe, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Turtles over Grayskull number 304 is my next book. Because I was actually looking for the cover while Agent 70 was doing his thing, but I couldn't find it. Yeah, so this was a 4-issue miniseries, or this is a 4-issue miniseries that started last year. And I'm not sure. So I think this particular issue was supposed to come out in last November, from what I've seen. And in fact, probably if I went back that far, I probably could have seen the cover there. But didn't come out until now for some odd reason. But as it says, you know, hey, it's Masters of the Universe, it's the Turtles, crossover, there you go. What happened? Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot to do the creative team. Script by Tim Seeley, art by Freddie E. Williams III, color art by Andrew Dahlhaus, and letters by Andworld Design. So the premise of this was that basically the Turtles and He-Man meet, but they weren't really supposed to, and they were told that, hey, if y'all did, something's bad was going to happen, and I think we saw that in the first issue. So in order to keep that from happening, Renette, who's a Turtles character with some timey-wimey stuff going on, pretty much tried to write things. And this is the book that I was saying earlier that I had to kind of catch up on because I couldn't remember if I read issue 2 or not. But in this issue, we have Adam, aka He-Man, in New York, and we have the Turtles on Eternia because of the things that I just mentioned. And so now they're on separate missions, but they're pretty much going towards the same goal with the people that are there. So you have Adam, aka He-Man, as He-Man, interacting with Master Splinter and April and Casey Jones, while the Turtles are interacting with Man-at-Arms and Teela on their. Okay, I will read some of this when we get past this part. But and that's pretty much that. So we get a little bit of, He-Man gets a little bit of lessons in the ninja arts, and the Turtles get new gear, as we have seen in new figures that definitely are coming out of this, that are actually are out from this. Now that I think about it, because I think those figures are already on the market. So therein lies that. It's kind of amusing and I think there's another figure actually that's going to come out of this that is an amalgamation of a couple of Turtle characters, and at the end there's another He-Man character that I'm not entirely familiar with that comes into play, or that's probably has been into play the whole time, but I will leave that for those who may or might not know to find out for themselves. Next up, though, excuse me. Um, yeah, I apologize, book. Like I said, I had some trouble finding covers for this week's books because of whatever's going on. So I don't think I have that one either for some reason, even though I know I pulled it earlier. But regardless, Star Trek Defiant number 23 is my next book, written by Christopher Cantwell, with art by Angel Unzueta, color artist Marissa Louise, and letters by Clayton Cowles. So we're still seeing Worf and Alexander on Alexander's quest of redemption. We see a later staple of DS9 come into play that would be in relation to them and not actual relation. But if you know who those characters are, you can kind of piece things together. While they basically start a strike. Let's just put it that way: a labor strike or an uprising. Meanwhile, the Defiant is being attacked by Cardassians in Section 31, and they deal with that. And still not yet locking up with what's going on in the main Star Trek book, because there's other things that would definitely affect what they're doing. And it sounds like the Alexander's redemption quest is going to go back to what brought him into the fold, as it were. So that is for next issue. And my last book is technically a book I have not read, but I just wanted to bring it up anyway. This is DC Power: Rise of the Power Company, number 1. This is also kind of an anthology book. If you heard some of us talking about this, which is basically, as I was describing to Agent 70, like 4 stories with pairings of Black DC comic books heroes together throughout the whole thing. I'm not entirely sure if it's like they all connect in some sort of way. I'm not entirely sure about that part, but it seemed like it could very well be the case. I'm not entirely sure because, like I said, I only had time to skim it and hadn't had a chance to read it. But if any of that I just said is of interest to you, you should definitely check it out. I know I will be definitely reading this book probably sometime later on tonight or whenever the case may be. And that, folks, is it for me. Kliqs of the week.
Alrighty, Kliqs of the week. Don't worry, Von Gloom. I actually also read some of the notes that you put into the chat, and I will speak about that shortly.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
We will get to Kliqs of the week.
So, in fact, yeah, we'll go ahead and do Kliqs of the week, and then we'll address all of that because I wanted to speak on some of that. You got your potentials?
Yeah. They're exactly what I was describing earlier. Basically, Moon Knight, Fist of Khonshu #4 and X-Men #10. I did like ThunderCats #12 and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles #6 as well. But my top two candidates, I think, are Moon Knight and X-Men #10. How about you?
Yes, indeed. Wait, what was the other one you mentioned? You said ThunderCats, and what was the other one?
Turtles.
Turtles.
#6.
Yeah, sorry, I'm just putting up things here. X-Men, definitely. That was one of them. Turtles definitely was one of them. ThunderCats, absolutely. So again, ThunderCats is like, it's generally a good book, but so that is what it is. SilverHawks was #1 actually. It's a potential Kliq of the week.
Got it.
For myself. And I think that's it. Yeah, that's it for my potentials. Do you have your final?
I think I'm going to go with my initial gut feeling, even though I really, really like the Moon Knight issue. I'm going to go with X-Men #10.
I mean, hey, it was a damn good book, so I'm not, I ain't mad at you for that one. There is Agent 70's Kliq there. For me, that Masters of the Universe Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, by the way, also was amusing, but there's a lot going on in that book. So I think that is a niche one for me. Well, that's let's see, it's pretty much out of SilverHawks, X-Men, and probably ThunderCats. And I did say Turtles, I know, but like I said, they still teasing with what the hell's they're still teasing us with that. I'm kind of upset. Not actually, but it's like, all right, just go ahead and tell us. We were 6 issues in. We're already passing an arc. I mean, a trade. You could tell us what the deal was. That brought up on all of this outside of what you've already mentioned. It actually shouldn't be this hard, honestly.
Does it might have to play it again?
Don't do it. Does it anyway. You know what? I'm also going to go with X-Men 10, actually.
There you go.
And it had nothing to do with that little ditty that Agent 70 just played, and definitely, absolutely, positively, no shout-outs to Diddy. There we go, folks, with that. And but yeah, the books that we mentioned for potentials, good stuff. Like I said, SilverHawks is definitely probably the closest up there. Interesting for interest reasons. Then I guess I had to put Turtles back up. But before we go into the ad read and get into the news section, let's address this stuff in chat because there's a lot going on here.
There's a couple things I wanted to speak to because Von Gloom mentioned something with regards to the Psylocke book, and I needed to do some research because I agree that confusing Shinobi Shaw and Matsuo Surabaya, was an easy mistake to make because of obviously all of the Chris Claremont of it all, and depending on how certain characters are drawn, they're all they can all kind of look the same, right?
Mm.
But we all know Matsuo Surabaya from the introduction of Asian Psylocke, right? And what you can do is, and I needed to do this because I needed to look up whether or not this character's still around. And to find that out, you have to take a look at the very first Psylocke miniseries, which was published back in 2009/2010. I personally own 2 issues out of this 4-issue miniseries. So, of course, to fill out the rest of my knowledge of this story, you're gonna have, I would have to read it in our favorite tool, but not a sponsor, Marvel Unlimited. And I had to, I literally had to open it just now to see what happened in the other 2 issues, because of course I'm missing the first and the last issue. I have the 2 middle issues of that series in my own personal collection. So I didn't know how it started. I didn't know how it ended. Not the case, right? Isn't that always the case?
Sometimes.
So, and what's funny about it is, just as an aside, what's funny about it is that the series is apparently worth some money for I don't know what reason.
Probably
right? Like,
probably because Quanon's back now.
No, but my point being is that what you do is you go into the back issues and you're like, wait, why is this issue worth like $30 or $40? On top of the cover price, right? And it's just weird. It's just kind of like a random, like, why is a Psylocke book of all things, worth money? And at the end of the day, I had never really bothered to look into why. I was just happy to have 2 of the 4 books. But yeah, in terms of finding out what happens to Matsuo Surabaya, you have to read those issues, right, to find out his ultimate fate. So I understand why you think this would have made more sense. The story in this current issue, this current miniseries, this current Psylocke miniseries would have made more sense with Matsuo Surabaya. Because he was the one directly involved with the body swap back in the day and the whole Lady Mandarin stuff. So I think that you get a better understanding as to why. I guess Shinobi Shaw is kind of a stand-in for that era. I think that maybe stand-in is the wrong word. I think it's just an expansion of the Quanon story by putting him into her orbit, as it were. Besides, at least according to the in-story reasoning, is that he had been introduced to Quanon during the Krakoan, the Krakoan time. So that's why it's him. So, and also I wanted to see, to address one thing that he mentions. Gloom mentions that, the Voltron that had all 5 lines, I was fortunate enough to get that.
Yeah, so let me go ahead and read it off real quick. Because that was in relation to talking about the Power Lords book. Right. So he says, don't remember that cartoon or toy line, but was trying to convince my mom to get me the $60 Voltron that had the 5 lines that could combine back then. That's what brought that up. And actually, I don't know if you know about that Playmat. Well, I think we did talk about that Playmates set that's out now, which granted is significantly more money. That now as an adult you could get. But Von Gloom also says she never bought me a complete set of the Voltron lines, I would assume. And then he mentions I had Predator King's feet and torso of the Transformers, which, man, I'm sorry. But actually I don't think I had any of the Predacons. So that's you did better than me. I think I had Constructicons and the Aerial Bots. And a Stunticon, I think, and that I might have gotten by. I'm not saying by illegal means, but somebody might have brought a toy over and I might have kept it. I don't know. Something like that, I think. And now I don't have any of those. So hey, there you go. So anyway, that's that, folks. So we can go ahead and go on into the cinematic news, but first, an ad read.
Our first ad read of the night is for Blue Apron's meal delivery service. Blue Apron, fresh ingredients and incredible recipes delivered weekly to your door. Skip the grocery store and make incredible meals at home with Blue Apron, always shipped free right to your home. And now the listeners of the Comic Book Chronicles can get $30 off your first Blue Apron order. To place your first order with $30 off and to help keep our show free for you, go to our network website at cspn.us, that's cspn.us, then click on the Keep Our Podcast free link at the top of the page. From there, scroll down to the Blue Apron link and sign up for your first order. Blue Apron through cspn.us. Do it today. Now we get into the news.
Magico. That's funny. Cinematic news, folks. We're going back to Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man with this. Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man sneak peek reveals first look at Daredevil, Dr. Octopus, and more. So this is from a featurette that I'm sure Marvel's got out there. According to this, there was a featurette and sneak peek that was released the day before the show aired. Let's see. Not only does that unique animation style, according to this article, still look much better than what we saw in the trailer, but we also catch sight of Charlie Cox's Daredevil, Dr. Octopus, and the Scorpion, which in a minute or two will make a lot more sense. There's even an intriguing shot of the airport battle from Captain America: Civil War, which, as we said earlier about the show itself. I guess not the first tie to that movie that the show is that the show's done. So let's see, and this goes on with a talk with a little bit of a couple of quotes from Jeff Tramiel, the showrunner and head writer. Let's see. It says, I want to give a cliche, expect an unexpected answer, but honestly, I think you can expect Your Friendly Neighborhood for Spider-Man. He's hanging around New York, and it's not a huge intergalactic adventure. It's hit him at his roots, and there's a lot of things that we as a fan base take at first glance and are like, oh yeah, I know this part of the story. That's been really fun to dig into. Maybe you don't know everything. There's some surprises in there, and I'm really excited to dig into those. It was really fun to subvert those expectations when they've been built up for so long, end quote. So, cool beans. Next up.
Apologies, let me get to scrolling here. Next up, Marvel has unveiled the official release schedule and episode titles for Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. This is what we talked about, we mentioned earlier in our discussions of it. And we see that the release schedule and episode title list arrived via the official Spider-Man X/Twitter account, and it's coming out in groups of we have the first two, and then we have a group of three, another group of three, and then a final group of two. So these will all be out during the next 3 weeks. So get ready to get some friendly neighborhood Spider-Man in,
and some Invincible, but that's beside the point.
Yeah,
it's a weird choice for them to do it like this, but because I was thinking as we were talking about it before the show, I'm like, are they trying to get out of the way of something? But I can't think of anything that they would. Now, granted, Agent 70's arc, our arc theory seems plausible, but at the same time, they've done other shows where they've still brought out episodes just one a week that have done the same thing or a similar thing.
Right.
So it still seems weird that they're doing this, but at the same time, hey, we're happy to begin anything, I guess. So therein lies that. If you're watching the video version, you can see the schedule right there and the titles of the episodes themselves. And like I said in the last with the last bit of news, yeah, some of it makes sense with who shows up or who got teased by that sneak peek featurette. Let's see. Von Gloom says real quick, think Matsuo's dead. Wolverine had been cutting off pieces of him each year. Also, Mensor also looked lazy. Oh, Minosaur, talking about the Transformer. Always looked lazy because they just slapped untransformed cards on his body. He's also said, okay, this is silly. Not sure why. I guess I'm assuming this is why. Not sure why they used Tombstone instead of Prowler/Rocket Racer, because they had sense. And I'm sure if depending on how a certain thing goes from what we could speculate on that happened in the first episode, who's to say that couldn't happen? Or at least one of those last two could happen. Hopefully not Rocket Racer. Anywho's.
Okay.
Sir, please. Daredevil Born Again. Sure. What's that? I'm sorry. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Just a quick note about Matsuo Surabaya. I just didn't want to spoil the ending of the first Psylocke miniseries.
Okay.
That's why I didn't go into what his ultimate fate is, apparently, or presumed fate.
I mean, it's like it's old.
I know it's a 15-year-old miniseries.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. And people might want to still read how, I don't know, or what happened. So I don't know. Anyway, Daredevil Born Again showrunner had a, quote, very early vision for the show, but was forced to pivot after it got in the way of, quote, Marvel's master plan. Who's the man with the master plan? It's not DJ Mr. C. So it says here that showrunner Dario Scardapane, I apologize, I probably butchered that, learned that the hard way, and that is how the sentence goes. Is going here. Learned that the hard way because, oh wait, I'm sorry, I missed a part. That's why it sounds like that. Either way, basically, the showrunner found out that Marvel was doing some other stuff, and he found out the hard way. Quote, Marvel has a master plan, and what you're doing causes ripples, as he was told. Or as he explained in a new issue of SFX magazine, which features Daredevil Born Again on the cover, and it's going to be and is already out. I would pitch stuff very early, and I would hear that they already had other plans. And the quote continues, I have plenty of leeway up until I hit the larger scale plan for the MCU. So I try to ignore some stuff from the wider universe. We establish a very specific Daredevil, both in terms of his dilemma down to the suit and where we're picking him up in life. You can say that Daredevil is canon in the MCU. Those other events, and Spider-Man and She-Hulk, happened, but some of them we are not leaning into. So maybe we're not going to see Madison. That's me asking that. His one night stand with She-Hulk, maybe one of those things. Boo! And I'm going to say it again. Boo! So, yeah. Next up, though.
Right. So, following up on this, the Daredevil Born Again showrunner and star Charlie Cox addressed why they rehauled the Marvel show. A quote, it wasn't in line with what Daredevil had been established to be. Bottom line with this, though, is that they basically had taken the next logical step, apparently. And, this is a minor spoiler as to how they connect the story being told in Born Again with the story that basically wrapped up the Netflix Daredevil by ending on a, kind of a hope and a dream and, following up on that.
And probably none of that Defender stuff, which I still haven't yet finished. But anywho's, the Green Lantern TV show has founded Sinestro. And that person is a Danish actor named Ulrik Thomsen. Recently of NBC's The Blacklist. And, oh geez, an upcoming Uwe Boll film, Run, and not the Ghostface Killer song. Although I wouldn't be surprised if Uwe Boll probably used that, sadly. See, while Lanterns is primarily set on Earth, as Hal and John investigate a murder in the American heartland, Thompson's set for a recurring role throughout the 8-episode season. Thompson joins the other cast members. I'm not going to name off everybody's names again, but so yeah, Sinestro confirmed, and I don't know who this person is, or at least I don't remember. I remember the Blacklist, but I don't remember anybody off that show. Next up.
Oh, in unfortunate news, apparently Craig of the Creek has aired its last episode, as it's aired its series finale. And in a previous statement made on social media, the series co-creator stated that they had more stories planned for Craig of the Creek, but were ultimately canceled thanks to the merger between Warner Brothers and Discovery. Okay.
Yeah. And the other reason why I brought this up was one, Craig of the Creek is a great show. You should watch it. As a cartoon, it's such a great show. Someone that is, as we may have talked about in past shows, someone that is familiar with Agent 7, or someone that Agent 7 is familiar with, may have been the inspiration for a character on the show, or actually was. Excuse me,
literally related to.
Yes. Oh, that's right. You did tell me that. Yes. In fact, I have been watching Craig of the Creek recently, and I do know that character shows up in this last season, but also in at least, well, I think in 4th season, but I can't remember if it's 5th season. Regardless, but that character does show up a couple of times before the outro. So, and yes, that also Craig of the Creek is as noteworthy because Jeff Tramiel, the showrunner and head writer for Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, also was on that show. I believe he was I can't remember what he started off with, but I know he ended up doing more with the show later on. So, which is actually kind of funny because there's in season 4 there's an episode of Craig of the Creek that may have some Spider-Man homages in it. Matter of fact, pretty direct Spider-Man homage in it. And if you go to my my Twitter account, you might have seen it. But anyway, like I said, Craig of the Creek, great show. You should check it out. But next up, Transformers Cyberworld previews new TV series characters: Optimus Prime, Bumblebee, Grimlock, and Megatron. So I guess they're doing a new show, and these are the characters that they're doing. According to this article, though, it seems the show's been leaked, but not really seen a part of a prototype. Let's see, and the poster. Apparently, the images look like more of a 3D demo render of retail space, especially with Earthspark and Age of the Primes boxes appearing in the second image. So I guess we're not entirely sure what exactly this Cyberworld thing is. It could be a new series, or it could be a new toy line. Chances are it's probably about both. It's probably, both. Next up, though.
All right. Massive new plot details for the upcoming sequel, Avatar Earth series, to The Legend of Korra have been revealed. Okay. It's going to make one massive change to the franchise, likely disappointing many fans.
I don't know about that.
I don't know. That's hyperbole for you.
Yeah, pretty much.
Should I talk about this?
Yeah, go for it. I mean, it's at this point, it's still rumor and speculation, so we don't necessarily know if any of this is actual. And also, if you're watching the video version, you can kind of see it right there. So
it was previously rumored that the next Avatar series would follow twin girls. with both possibly being the Avatar. Additional leaks furthered these claims, which only agitated fans with such a massive change to the franchise's lore. Unfortunately for them, a recent report confirmed that this will be the driving force of the sequel series, along with the mystery of their existence and whether it's connected to what happened to Avatar Korra. Okay.
Yeah. One of these years, hopefully, we're going to get Agent 7 to watch the original Avatar. Because I keep stressing that it's a pretty good show. But he's going to continue to keep rewatching Haikyuu. So there's nothing I can do about that, sadly. Von Gloom says, Uwe Boll, you said a dirty word. I sure did. I apologize, but it's in the course of the news. And yes, Agent 70 has a cousin in Craig of the Creek. I will give you a big hint. He likes to nickname himself.
Yeah.
He likes to give himself extra nicknames, and I believe one episode he gave Craig 1 or 2 or 3. So that is the character if you know the show. Next up, we go into Anime Corner.
All right, let's see here. Well, at least with regard to one of the stories here.
So no. Shinichiro Watanabe and MAPPA's LAZARUS anime premieres in April 2025. Yay. So it's going to air on TV Tokyo in April, and there's been a new visual has been unveiled. It's scheduled to premiere on Adult Swim also in 2025, and it's going to be 13 episodes, which I think that part, I don't recall we knew that already. Excuse me. Yeah. And we get the cast here, not the Oh, interesting. So yeah, we do get the Japanese voice cast here. We also get who's doing some music for the show, which is Kamasi Washington, which is a saxophonist for those of some note for some folks. And Floating Points is the producer and DJ, and Bonobo are also which is a group I know about. I didn't know they were still doing music, but anyway, are composing the jazz and electronic inspired musical score, which of course, being that this is a Watanabe joint, music is a big part of course, makes sense. So, but now it's got me a little bit more interested than I already was. Not to say I wasn't already. So, I don't think we know. Well, we do know what it's about. So never mind. I'm going to shut up and say next.
All right. So, in Dragon Ball Daima, the Z fighters have had the Demon Realm's strongest weapon this whole time, and it was right under our noses. I was definitely kicking myself because I did not figure this out months ago. So, I need to watch the most recent episode and figure out what's going on here. I don't think I read this, but apparently someone had it packed on their belt.
It's are you saying it's almost like that Men in Black where the cat had it on the collar?
Yeah, pretty much.
I still haven't watched Daima. I need to get on that because the next story basically says that hey, Dragon Ball Daima is confirmed to be ending at the end next month, February 2025. February 28th to be specific, according to this article and Hulu's schedule. Let's see. Fans shocked by the news of the anime's early conclusion despite its popularity. No official announcement has been given whether there's going to be a season 2, according to this. I love how they do the quick summary of the article because boy, that's helpful. Going back to the chat for a second, they copied the Shaman King plot talking about Lazarus, which is funny because I think I've seen just enough Shaman King to barely know what the hell that was about. So that's funny. I can weirdly still hear the theme song. That's probably about it. But we know we don't need to go there because we're going to go into the comic book news.
All right. Let's see if we can something fun to play. How about
Nice. Comic book a company that owes Wizards of the Coast and Hasbro over $1,900,000 files for bankruptcy. Apparently, Diamond also owes over $310,000 to Army Painter, and more than $400,000 to Catalyst Game Labs. So this is in the ongoing Diamond bankruptcy thing. If you wasn't sure, Diamond comic distributors, not yeah. So yeah, that's the news of this sort has been coming out since we talked about it last week and back before then. And I know Agent 70 actually. I need to get that link so I can put it in the clickbait section. Agent 70 linked me to a podcast that gives a little bit more insight into that whole bankruptcy thing that I've yet to check out yet. But if folks are interested, hey, there you go. You can check that out when I put it in the show notes, which should be there by the time you see this, or by the time you hear this in the audio version anyway. Von Gloom says no Yoko Kanno. I mean, no, probably got to switch it up. Maybe she's probably going to do something. I don't know, but I hadn't heard of any involvement with this one. So, but you got to switch it up every now and then. So, because I don't think Yoko Kanno was on Samurai Champloo either. So, because, got to switch it up. Like I said, next up, though.
Alrighty, so related to this Diamond bankruptcy story, Boom Studios has jumped to Penguin Random House as its distributor 3 months early after Diamond Comic Distributors filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection. So the new transition date is April 2025. Diamond is going to continue as a sub-distributor despite the changes, and Image Comics is also affected by Diamond's Chapter 11 filing. It's going to be both a comic book store distribution and their bookstore distribution.
Yeah. I was about to say, yeah, I've been. Oh no. Okay, I'm gonna. Sad news about a book that I really like. Anyway, yeah, that's that whole thing's going on. Next up, though, here's a preview for G.I. Joe number 4. For number 4, you see Cobra Commander on top of I never did know what the name of that Jeep was. Oh wait, no, that's the Dreadnought thing, but that's a different color. And apparently it's got the Lamar's logo on it, so they're in the sport utility vehicles. But let's see. The solicitation says, according to this, the race is on. Both Cobra and the Joes are in a deadly contest. Stop me if you heard this one. Both Cobra and the Joes are in a deadly contest to retrieve Cybertronian tech first. Although some would argue that Cobra's pretty much already ahead of him in that. But meanwhile, a Joe learns Cobra Commander's secrets the hard way. Again, that is for the preview for G.I. Joe number 4, which comes out February 19th. You can see the cover there and some I guess some variant covers. There we go. There's Risk. There's that Cobra helicopter thing, and there's a couple of letter pages of that's right, that takes up from the last issue that we've seen. Next up.
So, after the recent sexual assault allegations levied against Neil Gaiman, Dark Horse Comics has opted to cancel the remaining issues in his latest series with the publisher. This past Friday night, comics writer Mark Bernardin of Fat Man Beyond revealed that Dark Horse Comics has pulled the plug on Anansi Boys, a comic adaptation of the acclaimed Gaiman novel. The series released issue 7 early this month and was supposed to release an 8th issue in March, according to Bernardin. The writer adapting Gaiman's story for the comics medium neither the next issue nor a trade paperback collecting the comic will see release. While we're, I'm just disappointed that something that Mark Bernardin was working on, got canceled. It sucks for him.
I'm sure he's got some other stuff in the pocket though. He tends to get some stuff every now and then. He tends to pop up every now and then with stuff. So yeah. Von Gloom says that the weird dude who accompanied the little girl. I'm not sure if you were talking about when we were talking about anime news stuff. Was Samurai Champloo? Not quite, but not sorta. Well, yeah, it was two dudes and the little girl, but yes, that was Samurai Champloo. And also, he says no Avatar copied Shaman King with the twin chosen one mystery. Okay, well, I don't know. I never watched Shaman King like that. So, next up, though, new Ghostbusters series has been announced. Per Dark Horse Comics, the publisher has officially announced their next Ghostbusters limited series in the form of Ghostbusters Dead Man's Chest from writer David M. Boer, artist Aviv Orr, colors Chris Peter, and Comicraft letterer Jimmy Betancourt. Editor Jenny Bingham Blank said of the project, "It's wonderful to be branching out the Ghostbusters stories to reach a broader audience." Oh boy. Working with David, Aviv, Chris, Jimmy, and the team at Ghost Corps has been a fun collaboration that will invite readers of all ages to dive deeper into Ghostbusters. Usually when they try to reach a broader audience, the story suffers sometimes. Not always, but sometimes. Personal speaking. That's just personal speaking. Do we know when this thing is going to come out, though? May 21st is when issue number 1 is going to come out. Next up.
All right. I don't like the title of this book, but it is pretty descriptive. The title of the story.
Yeah.
Right. So basically, in mild spoilers, because it's right on the cover apparently, of DC's current Power Girl book in issue number 17. Apparently, they redesigned her costume so that the infamous window that is at the top of her costume is shaped in the shield, shaped like the Superman shield.
They closed the boob window, if you would.
Kind of.
Well, I mean, if this thing I'm looking at is an indication, they definitely did. So, but oh no, wait, nope. Okay, I'll take that back because I scrolled down. Yeah. So wait. Oh, so they're basically going through what got her to, I guess, this new iteration of their thing. Got it.
Say you needed to keep going.
Yeah, no, and I did, and it was like, okay, now I'm seeing it because I stopped at the one image that people are seeing on the video version. Got it. All right. So so boob window is still there. Never mind.
Yeah, it's just reshaped.
Yes. Yes. Indeed. Alrighty then. DC lists all the Justice League comics to read to make sense of it all, according to this article. Which, as I said to myself when I saw this, good luck with that. It says here, explore the core Justice League titles like Superman and Aquaman for a deeper universe insight. Discover the Watchtower central role, linking Justice heroes across multiple story arcs, and that would be Justice League Unlimited, probably. Catch the latest action-packed adventures, including Green Lantern and Challengers of the Unknown. I believe we have an article about that next, coming up next, also. And dive into upcoming releases and dramatic twists involving the Flash family and Black Lightning. All of that is in this article that you can read in the show notes. Next up.
All right. So, when is this out? So the fall. These are major spoilers for Challengers of the Unknown #2 on sale now from DC Comics. When did this come out? Not last week?
I believe so. Yes. Or yeah, if not last week, it was week before last, but it was recent. Yeah.
Got it. So apparently, DC's Absolute Universe is already dividing the Justice League. Okay.
I mean, sure, it kind of makes sense if it's going where I'm thinking it is.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just scrolling through the story. I'm like, yeah, we can't keep up with every storyline, folks, and there's all these tangential books when it comes to this whole all-in stuff, and the whole dark side. Like dark side was basically.
Yes.
So the whole Absolute Universe. We've been keeping up with the pretty solid storytelling here, but now these are all going to interact with the current continuity, which is still going on. So we'll see how it all plays out.
Yeah, like some of it is interesting, but yeah, I mean, you get a sense of what they're trying to do at the very least. So yeah, so Challenges of the Known of the Unknown #2 came out a couple of weeks ago, 2 weeks ago. Yeah. Anyway, Gas Cobra Commander is anatomically a snake down there, says Von Gloom. Silly. The weird dude equals Dragon Ball Daima. Gotcha. And I can't believe I'm about to read this, but because busting makes David M. Bohr feel good.
Oh, okay.
Von Gloom, just stop. Don't stop, but just stop. Oh, and then he says Carl's eyes are still up here, buddy. Yeah, well, that's never gonna stop. Anyway, yeah. Marvel is changing Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur in a major way, according to this article. Let's see. Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur 10th Anniversary Special #1 marks a pivotal chapter in Lunella Lafayette's legacy. Say that 3 times fast. With the debut of Devil Girl and Moon Dino, who hail from the far future. Writer Brandon Montclair and artist Nacha Bustos collaborate on the one-shot's main story, while writer Justina Ireland and artist Luca Clarenti team up for Devil Girl and Moon Dino story. Excuse me. Who are Devil Girl and Moon Dino? We'll find out in April. So apparently, this 10th anniversary special is basically, hey, it's Lunella's birthday, which I guess they're actually aging her up finally after 5-10 years, because she's been 9 for a long time. So now she actually finally has a birthday party. But anyway, she's got a birthday party, and yada yada, not even yada. Let's just say that. But basically, in true classic Marvel fashion, the Impossible Man shows up.
Sure. I just come on, guys. We all know the sound effect I have for this. This character's been around for how long?
10 years. Mm-hmm.
I'm too old for this.
Indeed. It's just wild that's the case. So but also, damn, when was the last time we've seen Impossible Man?
Who
Exactly.
knows? It's God.
Exactly. Because Impossible Man, you would at least make a yearly run at somebody's book.
Yeah. God.
So that's kind of crazy. So I'm looking forward to checking that out. Next up, though.
All right, Marvel releases X-Manhunt connecting covers by Phil Noto. So this is a crossover in the X-Men comics that's coming up. So the covers feature key players in the conflict as each character stands in a lineup as their outlaws. Okay. So if you look at it, the NYX covers feature, you know, some of the main protagonists in that book. The Uncanny book features some of the main protagonists in that one. Yeah, it's an interesting group. And why is whatchamacallit? Storm on a cover with Maggot. Good Lord.
Why is Sage on the cover with Will.i.am?
Oh no. Goodness gracious.
Yes, because come on, you can't not look at that and not think, well, X-Men Origins Wolverine.
I know.
Which, you know, try to forget, but also played that book. Played that game. Speaking of something else, actually, that's about to come up, I think. But yeah. So these Manhunt covers, that's the whole thing. And another crossover in the X books, because clearly we haven't had too many.
Right.
Like, damn, the books just restarted.
Yeah, I was gonna say, did we talk about what causes this X-Manhunt storyline to you know, what the impetus for this storyline is?
No, actually, thank you for mentioning that. But
I was gonna say it's in the solicitation.
Right. Let's see. So here's a quote in this article, at least. We've been keeping the various groups of X characters separated from one another as we set up a post-Krakoa landscape. Well, you know, that's partially true because crossover just happened. But anyway, executive editor Tom Brevoort explained, but it feels like now's the right time to send them crashing into one another. And who better to instigate the situations than the disgraced Professor X, who has intimate connections with almost all of our key players.
Right. Basically, he's on the run because he finds a way to escape from Grimwalk prison.
All right. Some would argue he probably already had that in place, given that, well, technically the thing that you read last week, but but also things coming out of Krakoa. It sounds like he might have already had his route. He already had a route planned. We just hadn't seen yet. I don't know. Regardless, sure. We're back at it starting in March. So
not all far away, folks. We literally have 1 month, you know, one more issue between this and X-Manhunt. Okay, between now and X-Manhunt. Okay,
right. And so yeah, so we only had a crossover between the two main books, and now we're getting all of them. So there you go. Next up, though, wait, this is me. 3 X-Men icons, according to this article, again, this is a Screen Rant article, so take it for what it is, are getting solo projects from Marvel in 2025. Who's it gonna be? Looks like Thunderbird, Colossus, and Nightcrawler are getting titles. So this comes again from Brevoort. Let's see, they're expected to star in their own future solo titles, and according to this article, from whatever, they're long overdue for proper attention. I don't know about all that. But in his latest Substack post, Marvel senior editor Tom Brevoort dropped a nugget of information sure to have fans excited about what's coming next for the X-Men, and that is the announcement that these characters mentioned are getting books. So, okay, sure, bring them out a whole new door, I guess. Next up, though. Oh wait, is there anything actually? Because this just goes into Screen Rant, whatever. Next up.
Alrighty. Marvel is rumored to have big plans for Ghost Rider Beyond Midnight Sun. So a new take on Ghost Rider is expected to make his MCU debut at some point over the next few years, and it sounds like Marvel Studios has plans for the character. Okay.
Well, is it going to be the one that we saw in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.? Probably not.
Probably not. I can't open this article because I have not created an account.
Oh, you shouldn't have to. Because I don't have an account either. There should be somewhere where you can skip past that.
No, don't have that option.
Or refresh a couple of times. It might let you through. Sometimes that works. But meanwhile, I'll read this in the chat. Maggot has joined the Stormcast.
Oh,
You're
right.
Yeah, per Maria or Ayodele, the writer. We should probably get him on the show. He will be the caretaker of her mobile home / base. So that is why Maggot is on Storm's cover.
Okay.
So yeah. Did you get it?
No, it won't stay.
Okay, so basically, see, Marvel Studios has yet to confirm that a new Ghost Rider will be introduced. There's been rumors upon rumors. The Ghost Rider is expected to be a part of the Midnight Suns movie. Whether this project, according to this article, will mark his first appearance remains to be seen. But it sounds like Marvel has bigger plans for the character beyond the planned, though still not officially announced supernatural team up. And this sounds like this might be from some, some rumor thing. So take it for whatever it is. Next up, though, Daredevil's Back in Black. April's Daredevil 20th by Saladin Ahmed and Jose Luis Soares. Is that how you pronounce his last name? Soares. My apologies if I'm butchering his name. But, so there you go, folks. The black armor suit is back. And I know Agent 70 has been reading this book, so you'll get to that when it gets to that. But apparently, after the events of Daredevil 19, Matt Murdock is more alone than ever before. And you know what? Maybe I'll stop reading there. I mean, not necessarily this article's giving anything away, but
Right, it's a solicitation. So.
Right. So, but April 9th, that's when that happens. And there's the, I assume to be the cover. Or is that the variant cover? Can't see whose name that is. Covered by J.R. Jr. with a variant cover from Philip Tan. Next up.
All right, you can check out the next wave of Marvel vs. Capcom variant covers in this article. We got characters like Cable, Colossus, Gambit, Hulk, Juggernaut, Magneto, Sabretooth, War Machine, and Wolverine. So these are being featured on upcoming books all during the month of April.
Yes, we've seen some in the last few weeks' books recently that have been showing for variant stuff. But yeah, good looking covers. Berserker Barrage. Next up, Chris Giarrusso reimagines the Agent 70 actually brought this to my attention by the by. Reimagines the iconic official handbook of the Marvel Universe covers in new connecting variant covers. Check out all 15 Marvel Universe connecting covers, and that'll go on sale this April. So you can see one of them right here. So yeah, that was cool. And here's a list of the book. Oh wait, here you go. Here's all of the covers. If you're watching the video version, you can see all of the covers, or most of the covers.
Right.
You kind of see them all, but a couple of them are getting cut off, or whatever. That's cool. That's cool looking. Because who amongst us doesn't love the old Hotmu and the way the covers connect it, right?
Yeah.
So therein lies good stuff, and I guess there might be.
I can't help but have like warm memories of seeing those covers. I may not have gotten all of them. I may have needed to get various omnibuy to get collections of these Ohatmus, but just very happy to see them.
Yeah, I still need to go out into my garage and see if I can. Hopefully, they are in a fairly decent condition.
Yeah. Yep. All right, next up.
Yeah.
So there is a new The Amazing Spider-Man statue based on Amazing Spider-Man number 302 coming soon from McFarlane Toys. Let's see here. Yeah, so it's inspired by issue 302. Okay.
Mhm. Right. If you're watching the video version, you can see me flipping through the images on this article for the statue. Looks cool, but it is a statue. Price?
I'm looking for it now. $29.99. So it's going to be coming out next month.
Mhm.
Imminently.
Indeed.
So
Next,
I'm
what's
sure
up?
you've seen these, like these McFarlane Marvel statues out in the wild, right?
No, I don't. Honestly, I haven't been looking, so no, I'm not sure.
I've seen them in various places. They don't have to be in comic book stores. They don't have to be in the direct sales market stores. There,
Right.
I saw them in like an FYE in a mall recently, and they're not big. That's that. So the price point is appropriate at $29.99.
Right. I mean, I've seen some McFarlane statues in the comic book stores, but like I said, I haven't really been looking for any particular. They just happen to be close in proximity to the desk or to the checkout.
Right. So they're not very big. So they're absolutely appropriate for bookshelf display.
Hmm. Actually, well, never mind. I was gonna skip this next one, but I'm not. Disney Lorcana's new dual ink cards may find themselves between the hammer and the anvil. So yeah, Disney Lorcana's introducing new cards in their upcoming expansion. The revealed dual ink cards feature 3 characters so far. Hinting at the possibility of more cards in the upcoming set, which is called Arcasia's Island. So cool. I'm glad that's still going on. I haven't really had a chance to really mess with Disney Arcana that much, and that bummed me out. And I wish they had a digital version. Next up, though.
All right. So McFarlane Toys is putting out a DC Superpowers Wave 10. So their latest wave includes the Ray Palmer Atom, the Dick Grayson Robin, Lobo, and Jay Garrick's Flash. Cool. Actually, it's listed as Robin Jason Todd. Oh, interesting.
Hmm. Wait, what is this? Why? Oh, there's actually more to it. This article.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, the other recent McFarlane toy news. Okay.
yeah.
So they've gotten their third wave of 1 to 10 and 1 to 6 scale Marvel posable figures. So these are the statues that are, I guess, semi-posable.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Guess so. So
One
and
of them
which
being, well, I was gonna say one of them being the Spider-Man, Amazing
right,
Spider-Man number 302 comic statue that we just talked about.
right. But there's a Thor one, Storm, Cyclops, Daredevil. I think we might have talked about the Daredevil one
Yeah, we
also.
talked about the Daredevil one.
Yeah. And there's not shown was Captain America from All New Captain America #1. So yeah, some stuff for folks if you're interested. I was trying to find an image of the DC ones, but the only one that's there is not clickable. So anyway, moving right along. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: The Last Ronin, NECA Grammy April with Baby Yi and Moja preview. Which, by the way, there was a Last Ronin book came out this week that I need to catch up on. But yeah, it's a new preview photos that was shared for the characters that I mentioned. Let's see. They are 7-inch scale figure sets. Pre-orders will be set to go live. That's a typo. On February 4th. And yeah, you can check out the preview image there. So neato. No price doesn't that I'm seeing here. Next up.
Mattel Creations reveals new Rio Blast Masters of the Universe figure. Okay, meet Rio Blast, a gunslinger hero joining Masters of the Universe Origins line. Okay. So he's armed with blasters and laser guns. Rio Blast stands ready against Skeletor. Okay. So you can get the figure from Mattel Creations for $20, and you can enjoy a new mini comic detailing Rio Blast origins. Okay.
Yeah, definitely don't remember this one.
You got me, man. You got me.
Next up though, also Real Blast just sounds like a drink. But let's see. New Jersey Comic Con is going to be February 22nd and 23rd. Apparently there is going to be a G.I. Joe versus Transformers action figure collective event at said event. Let's see, and there is a schedule on this article about what's going to happen during that time. Let's see, there was also, I don't know why, but there's something from an event that would have already happened. Go figure. But hey, if you're into G.I. Joe and Transformers figures and you're in the New Jersey area, I guess, and you got $20, this is, hey, go for it. There's also a collector meet and greet kind of thing, I guess, on the 23rd. So check it out. Next up.
Alrighty. So Keanu Reeves' Berserker gets a bloody statue from Diamond Select Toys. So at a price point of $59.99 and slated for release this fall in 2025, you can pre-order the modern look of Berserker on the Diamond Select Toys website and other retailers now. And you can order this up. It's pretty cool that they're doing this because we are going to get a Netflix adaptation of Berserker at some point soon.
Yes. Next up, though, Darth Maul's Super Commando Mandalorian returns to Hasbro's TVC. The vintage collection. Okay, I was about to say, what the heck does that mean? So yeah, there's a 3.75 vintage collection of Super Commando ready for pre-order. It is going to be, pre-orders are live. It's going to be $16.99 with a spring 2025 release. If you're watching the video version, you can see pictures of said figure right there. Cool. Next up, and lastly,
last up, Dungeons and Dragons VR game reemerges with an official name and announcement trailer. So a year after it was announced, Resolution Games' official D&D VR game has a final name and an announcement trailer. So let's see here. It's called DeMeo X Dungeons and Dragons Battle Marked. It's due out on PC, consoles, and XR devices, although the platform specifics and release date are not yet announced. Okay.
Yeah, actually, so I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if it's Demeo or Demeo. I'm not entirely sure either, but I do know that game is great. That game is a good game, especially if you, well, one, it's a VR game, but there's also a non-VR version. And it's basically you and 3 other people can basically do a Dungeon and Dragon like run through a thing, campaign,
Okay.
in video game form, and it's kind of cool. So like I said, and I guess they teamed up together in doing this. Yeah, I watched the the trailer for this, and all it is like a live action thing, so it doesn't really tell you much about what it is. But if it's anything like Demio, then sure, I can see it. It's uh, it's intriguing enough as that, with what little they showed. And with that, folks, that is the end of the news of the real quick. Von Gloom says just reach out to Maria Ayodele. He seems very approachable. I think you just have to factor in the time zone distance between U.S. and Nigeria. Yeah, we have to figure that out. Him and probably propose if I want to get on. I would love to get on. I wouldn't mind. Anyway, we'll see if any of that actually ever happens. But let us close out this with one last ad read.
All righty, folks, our last ad read of the night. You know, we've been at this for a while tonight. Help us keep our podcast free by shopping at Amazon. Visit cspn.us and click the Keep Our Podcast Free link at the top of the page. From there, scroll down and click on the Amazon link to shop. Purchase items from Amazon as you normally would, whether it's books, music, electronics, jewelry, apparel, or Marvel Legends. For every purchase made on Amazon through our link, Amazon sends the CSPN a payment that helps us keep the Comic Book Chronicles podcast free to our listeners at no extra cost to you. Amazon.com through CSPN.us. Do it today.
Yeah, live action Berserker, Von Gloom. I believe, that shouldn't be that big of a surprise given, I think there wasn't another cartoon. I mean, they were probably going to do like a cartoon or something also with that outside of that live action thing. Because obviously this is what the project was being set up for anyway.
Awesome.
With Keanu, so I'm not sure. I can't remember. I might be misremembering on that last part. But yeah, so we definitely knew there were plans for some transmedia situation going on, live action specifically. So yeah, folks, that's it. We're here, we're done. Sorry, we kind of ran a little long because we started a little late, and that's kind of partially my fault. But we will be back next week with more Your Friendly Neighborhood of Spider-Man. Hang on. Invincible starts next week, huh?
It's 3 episodes worth.
Yeah, but oh shoot, I think Invincible starts next week also. I need to check that real quick. Yep, February 6th. So the day we record.
Yeah, that might be tough to
yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah, so we'll have to play that one by ear. But if it does if it does, it'll probably be like that morning of, like 3 o'clock that morning or something. Or I don't know. We'll see. We'll work that out. Regardless, we'll definitely have 3 episodes of Spider-Man. Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man talk about, and we might have to shunt Invincible for the next week. So we'll see. But with that, I have been your friendly neighborhood Radicat. Haha. You can find me at Radicat on Twitter and Blue Sky. You can find me at News Nerds Need on Twitter. You can find me at CBCaps on Instagram. Agent_70 on Twitter, Instagram, Blue Sky, and Threads. You can also find us on your podcast. Excuse me. We can also find us on the Cold Slither Podcast Network. That's CSPN.us.
Do it today.
You can also find us on your podcast producer place of choice, whether it be Apple iTunes, like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or the Cold Slither Podcast Network SoundCloud page, and also recording live Thursday nights, 9:30 Eastern Standard Time or Eastern whatever, on youtube.com/TheClickNation and twitch.tv/Comic Book Chronicles.
Make sure to click like, subscribe, and leave us all the positive 5-star reviews, especially on Apple Podcasts, and hit that notification button so that you know when we are broadcasting live on YouTube or Twitch. Make sure to follow and subscribe and leave us all the positive 5 stars reviews that you can. Thank you.
As I told Agent 7 before the show, real quick, there was a PS3 era video game that I mentioned that he should probably try out if he has not. That will probably be played on the Twitch channel, but I know I have said that I was going to finish a couple of other games on the channel prior to that, or I should probably do that prior to getting into the list. So G.I. Joe is going to happen. Power Rangers is going to happen. Turtles probably will happen. And I think that was pretty much it that I've already started and didn't finish. So we shall see. But yeah, stay tuned to twitch.tv/Comic Book Chronicles for all of that. And with that, folks, this has been the Comic Book Chronicles. Peace.
Peace. One.
Good evening, Rick. Would you believe it's Dr. Doom?
What's on your